Okay, we're on the last chapter. Last chapter of My Big Toe. Yeah, the last chapter. So before we go around and discuss it, let's set our intention. Our intention is to just come together and hold collective loving space for one another. And then we will...
Who shared their screen?
I don't know. I'm trying to do something and it's me, but it's not working. I just wanted guys to see you all like I did last time. So I don't know what I'm doing.
Share screen or gallery view. You got to go gallery view.
Gallery view. I can't find that. I don't know.
Look for stop sharing first.
Oh, I have to go to stop share? Okay,
yes.
Sorry guys.
Okay,
thank you. So I don't have a gallery. Where do I find it?
It's upper right hand corner.
Upper right.
It says gallery view and speak. You want to go on speaker view. Or
gallery view. I have gallery view. Is that the one?
Click it.
Yeah, gallery view.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got it. Sorry. Just trying to figure it out. Okay, thanks.
That's okay. Hi Mal, good timing.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi, Mal.
Good. We're just setting the intention, and then we're gonna go and do a check-in. So
great. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You haven't missed anything.
You haven't missed anything. That's right.
Perfect.
So our intention is to come together and really to gain a big picture perspective of the material that we're looking at. We really do our best here to practice compassion and acceptance for each other. So this is all about supporting one another, encouraging each other, really cultivating that sense of curiosity to learn from one another, and checking our egos at the door. So there's no criticism, there's no judgment here, there's just love and acceptance for one another. Let's go around and do a check-in and see what everybody thought about the material. Do you want to go this way? Christine, you want to go?
Sure. I'm short by like 3 pages, but other than that, it was very, very good. There was one part that I absolutely loved. It was, and I kind of started, and I hope I get to read it. It's under the education, learning, and personal growth section that I thought was awesome. So I loved it. I feel kind of sad that it's over, but I think as he talks about in other parts of the book, you know, there are no endings, just beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
I mirror what Christine said. I really enjoyed the quotes and all the little sections of you know, what he had talked about, sort of like a summary of everything he's talked about. So I liked it.
Yeah. Leo, what about you? What'd you think?
Yeah, it felt anticlimactic because it's like, wow, there's so much I still want to know, you know, and I'm not going to get it in this chapter. But there was some good parts to it, and there's one thing he said that I want to talk about later that I'm really curious about. So we'll talk about that.
Okay. Cheryl, how about you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got distracted.
We're just doing a check-in. Like, what did you think of the chapter?
Oh, I liked it. I got some things out of it. I got one really good thing out of it. And I don't think it had anything to do with the chapter. I just think it was just, it triggered something else. And it was something else I'd been working on for quite a while. So I'll tell you about it. It was really interesting. It was good.
Good.
It was real good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nadine?
Yeah, I liked it too. I felt it was like the continuation of the other one, the one that we read last week, and I really enjoyed the quote, and I really like the Einstein one quite a bit. So I guess, I don't know, I have to read, I don't know if any of you have a book more on Einstein himself. I kind of like the guy.
Oh, Einstein, yeah.
Yeah, Einstein, yeah. I really enjoy the quotes that he put there. All the quotes, but the one of Einstein really kind of I like the most. Mm-hmm. So it was good. And like Christina said, oh, it's over. It's the last chapter, but it's all good, right?
Yeah. And now, how about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Mainly towards the end or the last part of the chapter. I think that Tom really did a great job in summarizing and putting the most important concepts like in a nutshell. So yeah, I enjoy it a lot, and as all of you guys, a little sad too to to see it at the end, but at the same time, it's really a beginning. Also. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, what about you, Vanessa?
I liked it, yeah. I think I've read it before because I'm the type of person that likes to see what happens, and so I go right to the end.
You're like, I read this chapter first.
Yeah. But it was good to come back to it and revisit it. And yeah, I'm excited to learn more about what you guys thought of it as we dive into it.
Great.
So let's take a look. Chapter 92, More Good Company. Anybody have anything on the first page?
No.
No, not for me.
No. How about the second page over?
The second page, I only have in the side section, the last sentence. The large majority of religious values have little, if anything, to do with spiritual values. This is as true in the East as it is in the West. And I know we talked a little bit about religion and spirituality last time, so I think, you know, on that part, I kind of agree with Tom about the values.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also highlighted the in the section that says beliefs and self-imposed limitations. In the first paragraph, the last sentence, in between parentheses, Tom says, the delusional always believe that they are non-delusional, and the non-delusional are delusional. Such is the nature of delusion. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the part right above that highlighted where he said, these folks are sure that if they and their peer group have no direct experience of a larger reality, the larger reality must be a product of delusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. You haven't experienced it yourself, then you don't believe it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess nor should we, right? Because we're not meant to believe anything unless we have direct experience. But then we also don't need to disclaim it, discredit it, and write it off. We can be open to it.
Yes, exactly.
Anything else on that page or the next page over?
The next page over, just the first paragraph, when he said the limiting belief trap of, and he just, the way he just phrased it, if this doesn't make sense to me, then it must be wrong. And I catch myself sometimes in that situation. Well, it doesn't make sense, so it's not like you know, if I can't understand it, it doesn't make sense. And I actually got today at the meeting, I got a card that was so appropriate for me at the end, and it says, what does it say? I need to release the need to have all the answers. And you know, that's our intellectual part that wants to know, like, and that is part of it. If I don't understand it, if it doesn't make sense to me, then it's wrong. I mean, or it's not true, or it's just not part of my universe, right? So for me, that's the way I kind of see it. A lot of things doesn't make sense to me, but it doesn't mean that they're not there, you know. So it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's the open-minded skeptic piece.
Right.
Where if you're not doing that, it's going to be a mess.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It is.
And it's
I
funny.
like.
It's been
Go
said
ahead.
that, and I see this too in my own life, that intuition often doesn't make sense. It's kind of illogical, where you get this nudge and it's like, go this way. And then your logic's like, no, but that way it's going to take me longer to get there. And it's like, no, go this way. And then you go that way and you end up meeting somebody that you never would have met, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't need to make sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the sentence. It's the second paragraph from the bottom that's italics. Common sense is the collection of prejudices acquired by age 18. I just
Yeah, I had
just
that
like
as
that
well.
because we hear. I mean, I see that all the time. People think they're using common sense, and it's common sense, but it's just wrong. Like it's common sense that the sun goes around the Earth, because you don't feel the Earth moving. But that's wrong. It's the Earth, you have to get over your idea of what common sense is. I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And who wants to be common anyway? That's following the herd.
Exactly.
The lowest common denominator sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not be extraordinary?
Yeah.
Right.
Working on the edge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of that middle. Concrete or quicksand, whichever one you want.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next page. Anything on the next page?
I like the second quote. People see only what they are prepared to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
That reminded me of that movie with Jack Nicholson where they're like, you can't handle the truth. Yeah.
Is that from A Few Good Men?
Yeah, if you're a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah. People only see what they're prepared to see.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on that page?
I actually had starred the very last one that says whatever one believes to be true either is true or becomes true in one mind.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Power of belief, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked that first one on the next page over, except I've heard Richard Bach say it. Are you guys familiar with Richard Bach? He wrote Illusions and Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Love Illusions. That's one of my favorite little books. But so this one here, I don't even know who Peter McWilliams is.
Me either.
But apparently he said, when we argue for our limitations, we get to keep them.
That's so true.
I've used that quote, or I guess Richard Bach said, argue for your limitations and they're yours, which is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that to my ex-boyfriend all the time. Yeah, always saying why you can't do something, justifying why you can't do it. Well, yeah, you're not going to be able to do it if you keep justifying why you can't. It's like
Exactly.
how you
Right. Yeah.
It's like making excuses for things. Well, this is why that's not working.
Yeah.
And it's that thought process that makes it to where it won't work.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, if we'd have just known. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
That it is.
On that same page in the middle, I like the pursuit of truth will set you free, even if you never catch up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, it's that idea of perfection that just keeps us back so often.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep pursuing and you're on the right track.
Yep. Creates more awareness.
Well, the truth is kind of a moving target, though, too, right?
Right.
It's always changing.
Yeah, how would you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I like the one by Susan Taylor. Thoughts have power. Thoughts are energy. You can make your world or break it by your own thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've broke mine a few times.
That's, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're supposed to break it so that we can learn something.
Yeah.
Oh, where's
Yeah.
that book? If it ain't broken, break it.
Yeah. If it ain't broken, break it. See what you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Any more of those quotes?
Nothing else on that page.
No?
No.
Okay. So the next page, mysticism, ideas from the edge. Anything on that page there?
No, not me.
No? How about the next page, Rowan?
Well, I kind of liked in the middle of the first real paragraph where he kind of summarizes, my big toe is constructed entirely from two assumptions. One, the seemingly mystical one, the existence of primordial consciousness, AUO, and two, the well-known and understood fundamental process of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
From just those two ingredients, all reality flows, including the relatively small but interesting subset of the larger reality we experience as PMR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have that too, Christine. I like every, from time to time, he gets back to those two assumptions. He
Yeah.
reminded us.
Right.
And then I also have the following sentence: elegant simplicity
Me too.
is the hallmark of big truth.
I agree.
And it doesn't need to be complicated.
Mhm.
So I really...
I also noticed that most times when he talks about the two assumptions, he just talks about consciousness, but this time he used primordial consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Yes. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the difference, you think? What is the distinction that he uses the word primordial?
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe could it be related with the fact that he says somewhere in the book that consciousness is consciousness, but primordial consciousness could be a very dim awareness.
Yeah.
Because one thing is consciousness and another thing is awareness. So it could be something that is conscious, but very little or not too aware of almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just for example, when he mentioned before in the theoretical part that Tom says, probably this consciousness was only aware of a true and false state, or 1 and 0, or this versus that. That could be primordial, maybe, and versus when it is not primordial, it's maybe a consciousness with a wider aware or greater aware of many other things. Probably it's something like that. I don't know.
For me,
Yeah.
I just see it as the beginning, right? So it's in a primary stage, which, like you said, is a little bit dim. It hasn't evolved yet. It's just the very beginning. So
I think
that's
the
the way I
feeling that
see
he's trying to convey the idea that this whole elaborate theory that's taken 800 pages is really just based on two simple ideas. And so he's trying to emphasize the simplicity of the assumptions. And so he's not saying that there's this elaborate consciousness. It's just a very simple consciousness. I think that's why he used that word primordial.
Because
Yeah.
primordial is usually refers to at the beginning of a certain time frame, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe
Well,
it's the
also
evolution
really
of-
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it may be just the evolution of how it came to be. Something very simple to now evolving to where we are now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, his book,
Yeah.
his newest book that he's working on is called Primordial Man, Primordial Woman. And so he's talking about us at the most basic level, right? How we function at the most basic level.
So does he talk about that hierarchy of needs, like Maslow's theory? Or
No,
no?
no. It's actually really simple the way he explains it. Is that men basically need to do whatever their women want them to do. Men need to make their women happy. I'm not making it up.
Happy wife, happy life, right?
Yeah. And then he says, and then women, you just need to be honest with your men and tell them what it is. Because oftentimes as women will be like, oh, they should just know. Like, why do I need to tell them? They should just know. And I'm like, don't know. You need to spell it out for them.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because
We don't
we
want
both
those
tend to
silent
get that
contracts.
wrong.
Yeah, we don't need those silent contracts, right?
yeah, exactly. On the last paragraph there, I had the process and importance of growth. So he says, I describe personal growth, the improvement of the quality of your consciousness, as the point of your existence. It is the evolutionary urge of the fundamental process applied to consciousness that pushes us forward to evolve the quality of our being, to lower our entropy. Yeah. I think that to some degree or another, every one of us feels that like we need to be doing something, right? That's why nobody is just stagnant. And if we are just stagnant, we're like, okay, something's not right. I need to do something.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we often get into this kind of head spin where we're like, yeah, I need to do something with my life. What is it? What's my purpose? What should I do? But it's like, just do anything. just grow. That's all. You can do that in any kind of manner. So,
Yeah.
We overthink it sometimes, but it really is.
Yeah.
Do you think sometimes that you need to stay stagnant just to gather up your energy and sort of brew things up and then you go forward again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I do think so.
Yeah. That is so true, Daniel, what you had said, because you have period of growth. Like if you watch a small child, they have spur of growth, and then they're stagnant for a little while, not as big, and then whoops, they have another spur.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for us it's the same thing. Like at one point you need that time to figure out things before you start moving again. The only thing is don't stay stagnant forever, right?
Exactly.
But I think it's very true because you can't always be on a growth curve, right? You need those moments where you kind of consolidate it in order to better move, right? But sometimes I think the danger is sometimes we do maybe it's how long do we stay stagnant. So sometimes, I mean, depending on our circumstances, we can be stuck for a while, right? And that's I mean, you've got to become aware of it. Something is if you, like you know what I mean. But I think it's really important that we have those moments where we stop and take note and notice. How long? I mean, that's an individual thing, but it's just be aware of the danger of getting stuck. That's all. Yeah, but it's very important. I noticed that, especially when you have a big period of growth.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm in one of those stages right now where I feel stagnant, actually. Yeah, it's interesting, that's to say the least, because I am one of those people who likes to sprint and grow and go as fast as I possibly can. And now I just feel like all of a sudden, like I hit a brick wall and I'm like stuck, and I'm like, holy shit, and just trying to understand like my feelings and my emotions and process them all, and trying not to go into my head and logically understand them, but just like creating space for it and experiencing it. Yeah. And then also wanting to like focus on directing my intent so that I can shift it. Because I like Nadine said, I don't want to be stuck for too long. Right. So it's not like I'm going to put everything on hold and just stay stuck and hibernate, but I'll still go and do the things that I'm meant to do. But when I notice that I'm not like engaged in this, for example, well, I am right now, but when I'm not, if I'm in like meetings or whatnot, it's kind of a distraction from what's actually going on inside. But when I'm outside of a meeting and it's just me, then there's that space for what's going on inside to come up. And I'm feeling a lot of like heaviness and like darkness and like kind of like depression. So yeah, that's what's going on for me right now, guys.
Is that with your personal life? Because with the low entropy group, it seems like you're doing really well with that.
I know. That's the thing, Daniel. That's what I couldn't get is our low entropy is taking off. We just got like approved from the government. Everything's going so well. And when I got that news, I was like screaming in my car with my daughter. I'm like, "Oh, we're so happy."
Yes.
And then later that night, I'm like at home in my bed, like crying. So I'm like, "What's going on? I don't know." But I have like these like really low, I don't know, just low energy and like dark feelings, and I can't make sense of it because I can't attribute it to anything negative in my life. Everything's going so well. So I think it's probably like repressed feelings from the past that are now it feels so safe. So now they're coming up for me to do work on them and just not suppress them anymore and face them and move through them, right?
Could it be that all areas of your life is going like full steam ahead, and in your personal life it's not going as fast as you like it, and now you feel kind of depressed about it? I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. And
yeah, I feel like I don't know, because I'm really trying not to like make any logic sense of it, because then I'll just go off in all these different directions and all these things in my head.
Right.
So I'm just rolling with it. Like if it comes up, it comes up. And oh my God, my beautiful daughter, I posted on Instagram this video she made, and she's like, I'm like, "Hey, you want to make a video?" She's like, "Yeah." And so she's like, she just gets on there and she's like, "I'm going to talk about emotions." So everybody should talk about their emotions and talk about their feelings, and then they'll all feel fine. Okay, Mom, and I'm like, wow, okay. So, and she's 5, right? And I think that they have that closer connection to source than.
Yes.
And so I guess that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm talking about my feelings. So
Maybe it was a message to you, and you're not aware of that. Right?
Yeah.
Your emotions.
Yeah. Oh, Daniel, that's maybe, yeah. But you know, I've been through that, Vanessa, and that's why I was talking about it. And at the beginning, I was kind of not happy with myself, saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm not moving. The things, you know, I'm not where I want to be. I'm stuck." And that didn't help me really, because you just kind of pile on yourself. And now when I get into those feelings, is just to say, you know, that they're there for a reason, and I'm not going to fight them, and we'll see where it takes me. You know, and I think, I don't know, but I'm trying this, and I think it make you kind of appreciate that moment, because deep down I know that this happens for a reason. Maybe I don't know why, but it's good for me on a long term, or you know, whatever is going to happen next. Like, you know, to see it in that perspective. So that took away the fear of, oh, I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to be there for a long time, and I don't know how to get out of it. Like, you know what I mean? Just let it be, accept it, say, okay, this is where I am. This is what I have to be right now, and see where it takes you. Like, you know. So it works better for me than being like upset and mad at myself. Like, you know.
I'm not upset or mad. I'm like actually a little bit shocked, because I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's hard to explain, but it feels like depression. That's what it feels like. And I use laughter to cover it up, and I smile, but yeah.
Can I add something right here, right quick? What I found when I was doing my fear work, it was so exhausting that I had to stop doing a lot of other things I was doing to do that. What I found is I came face to face with some of my early programming here in the West, that if we are not actively doing something and we're not actively producing something, that we have no value, we have no worth. And then everybody's looking at you like, how come you're not helping here, you know? And so what I found is that I was dealing with that programming as I was trying to deal with what I was trying to do in my personal growth. And that's at the point in time when I was feeling a lot of depression, but I was really growing a lot. I was making some headway in the inner world of reducing my fear. But then I felt bad because I was not being productive out in the world. I've been productive my whole life. So I felt this thing and I kept thinking, what is this thing I'm feeling? What is it? And then I finally realized, oh, I'm not contributing in that way anymore. And so it's attached to my value of myself and my worth here. And then I switched it and went, wait, my value and worth goes up if I'm decreasing entropy. So once I got to that piece, then that feeling of depression or whatever that thing was I had it for, a good 6 months when I was first working on my fear stuff, because I wasn't actively doing something that society sees as valuable, because it doesn't look valuable when you're just kind of curled up in a ball for a couple of hours a day on your couch trying to get through the intense roller coaster of fear. It just doesn't look so valuable, but it is. Now looking back, it was very valuable for me.
Yeah,
I was going to say something very much like Cheryl just said, because I think that we get in our culture, to avoid looking at ourselves, we get really distracted by stuff, and we have a lot of, we just throw ourselves into situations that we keep the energy going. And then when we decide we want to just separate and just tune in, which I think is probably what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
your life is becoming less crazy. In fact, it's lower entropy, right? And so there's a bit of you where the addiction to the stuff going on is craving stuff happening, and it's not happening. So you have a little bit of a feeling like something's wrong.
Yeah.
But it's actually a good thing, because you're making
feel-
space for yourself to
Yes.
tune in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm more of an, like, I know everybody thinks this is not true, but I'm an introvert. I actually like time to myself. Like, I swear I was a monk in a past life, because I like being on my own. And so if I look at my calendar and I have a day where I have nothing, I'm like, oh, thank God, because I can actually spend some time with myself. But my calendar lately has been so busy, and it's packed, and I'm out there, and I'm like, trying to promote and get attention for our nonprofit, and I'm out there moving and shaking, but I actually want to just chill. Another thing my daughter said to me the other day is, she, on one of her videos, she said, actually, I don't want to change the world anymore. I just want a calm family. And then she goes on about her family life. And I think that, yeah, because she used to want to change the world, and she wanted to be a police officer, and that's how she was going to do it, because that's how they did it in Zootopia. But yeah, I think it's kind of, she has a way of like saying things that I'm feeling deep within. And I think, what was that, Mother Teresa? If you want to change the world, go and love your family. I think there's got to be like a healthy balance between being out there and being so active in the community, and then also taking care of my immediate personal life, like my family, myself, my health. So yeah, I think it's just all catching up to me. But thank you guys for holding space for that digression there. Let's bring it back. I do feel better. Thank you. Because I'm like, okay, I have all this turmoil going on inside, and I'm like totally putting on a front here, but I just wanted to share that out. Now I feel real, and we can move on.
It's okay. You can have your turmoil. We'll let you.
Thank you.
Welcome. We won't try to fix you. Just help you see what you need to see.
Thank you. I think we're on page 804, 805.
We just did that, right?
Yes. 806. The very beginning there in that first paragraph, the second sentence, he says that if there were a law of being in existence, it would be grow or die.
I have this one too. Yeah, that's a good one.
Eckhart says it too. He says evolve or die.
Yeah.
Growth is the point, the purpose, what makes the experiment run, and the reason for going on. When consciousness and evolution become entangled, Modification toward improvement is the result. Growth defines the struggle to be. And without growth, without an opportunity to evolve our being, we are nothing. Yeah. I find a lot of I don't know, when I was reading this, I found a lot of poetry in his words.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Now that you
Yeah.
say it, it does seem like he's got some poetry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Poetic scientist.
Yeah.
Is that an oxymoron?
It's something different.
You know,
I felt the same way. That's why I said, "Oh well, I love this chapter. If he can write like that, why are the other one were so hard to read? He should have written them in a more poetic."
Well, that was scientist Tom, and then by the time he got to the end of the book, he was more evolved, and so now he's he's
Yeah. But it's interesting because a lot of people that are very into math and that are also very artistic and poetic. So it's not exclusive, right? But yeah. But the thing about the struggle, growth defined the struggle to be. I think that's what we are talking about, Vanessa, and I think that's what you are talking about. Right? When you grow, there's a struggle going on. So whether it shows up as like what you were saying, you're going through, or in another form, it's all part of this growth that we are going through, but it can take many forms.
Right.
What do you think about these guys? Because I have some trouble getting the thing that growth is what we are here for. I have some trouble because I always try to think that we have to get somewhere, that there is a goal or an objective to accomplish, and changing that for the fact of growing. I mean, internally, obviously, or even externally, whatever. But I find it difficult to get it. I don't know. Do you think this is like an influence for us in the West, in the Western world, in which we are very results oriented since we are kids? Or I don't know about the East. I really don't know about the East. I've never been there, but I don't know if this is just a belief, a very profound belief that I have to get somewhere, and then I really need to grow up to understand that the process is what counts. The growth itself is the goal.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's something like more cultural, or?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that this morning. It's our culture is about doing stuff, right? And I think what he's talking about is on the being level, right? Growth on the being level. This is our goal. So we're not getting anywhere, like as going somewhere. It's within, right? So this is the journey of our life, is to discover who we are. It's on the being level, but we are, and it takes a while to find out that, because we're all outwards, right? Going somewhere, doing stuff, being busy, and that's our culture. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't know about the East, but this is our culture. And if you're not seem to have goals and going somewhere, then you're just a failure in this society, right?
Exactly.
Where actually the goal is not a physical goal, it's not a tangible goal, it's just the being within, right? The discovery of self. Yeah. So it is a concept kind of, but that's, I think, what he's talking about.
Yeah, because sometimes I think that, well, if there is only the path of growth that counts, I can't get it. I say, well, yeah, but where are we going? What is the finish line? I mean,
What do you think? You look like you got a thought there.
what am I thinking?
Yeah.
I think that I feel like throughout the book, Mao, I do understand that it makes sense to me that the ultimate goal is not a place, it's like a state of mind, right? And it's where he talks about the point is very simple and it's elegant, and the only real thing that you need to do is to leave better than you showed up, right? Towards love, right?
That's good.
I love that, Christine.
Yeah.
To be a better person, you know, to be more loving, both with yourself, with other people, and the world around you, you know. And I think that's, you know, in the West, we're super focused on material success, right? And I think if you've ever pursued that, which I certainly did, and I thought that was the point, and you have some level of success, you realize that it doesn't actually make you happy, and that those goals are empty, right? And so the only thing that's really, really important is to work on yourself and bring your better self out into the world. And I love the fact that it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you whatever type of job that you have or function you have in the world is plenty. It's enough, and you can grow in that medium. You know,
You can bake cookies and give it to kids.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, yeah, sounds good.
But you know, Maui, the other thing is what I'm getting from Christine is that what we do and the tangible goal that we set for ourselves, we need to have those, because it's those interactions that help us grow within. Like, that's how you learn. Because how are you going to grow on the being level if you don't go out in the world and do things, right? So we do need to go out and do whatever we are doing and learn through those interactions, right? So actually, this is a difficult thing to kind of say, okay, how do those things work together? But I think that's how they work. Like, you know, whatever you do in your daily life, your job, or that's the opportunity for you to work on your growth, right? So it's all kind of, I don't know how to say that, not useful, but it's because of the experience in the real world that you can grow on your for within, right?
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah,
it's interesting. Eh? That's always a good, really question.
Did you guys have anything else from that page 806?
I just like the one from Mark Twain. I always loved him. He was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mark Twain, he just had some insights. Oh, did he? And the way he put them, he was best at putting stuff in a way to where all the people that were locked into the thing wouldn't get mad at him. Because he got away with it for a long time. I liked his saying on page 806. He understood that it was all about growth also. What is the most rigorous law of our being? Growth. No smallest atom or our moral, mental, or physical structure can stand still a year. It grows. It must grow. Nothing can prevent it. So it doesn't even matter if you're really trying to grow up. You're going to grow up no matter what. Or you're going to keep backing into that wall until you do, you know?
Yeah.
I like the very last quote too with Einstein, where he said, "The release of atomic energy has not created a new problem. It has merely made it more urgent the necessity of solving an existing one."
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's
sure.
Really.
And then I really like the part where Tom kind of elaborated on that. And he says that little did he know that mankind would devise several additional ways to destroy life on our planet within a few decades. Given the destructive capacity, future human genetic engineering, psychotropic pharmaceuticals, and the coming information age, it has never been more important for mankind to understand the big picture before it prematurely terminates this portion of the great experiment in consciousness. I like that for different reasons, like a lot of different reasons. I mean, just what he said is great. Like, it's really important for us now more than ever to start understanding the big picture, so we can kind of get our butts in gear and do what we came here to do. Like, yeah, that's important. And then also to realize that it is just an experiment in consciousness, one amongst many other ones, right? And not to have to take it so seriously either. So again, that balance, like lighthearted play, but then also doing work as well. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it could be a virtual reality we're in. That means it's really not real, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on that page?
No.
No.
Oh, I loved that quote right there. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's what you were talking about before, right, Christine? That's what we were talking about, the question about growth, right? That's exactly it, yeah.
I had from the wisdom, he said, oh, I really like this quote, Walter Lippmann. It requires wisdom to understand wisdom. The music is nothing if the audience.
Yeah.
I love that quote. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I like the one just after that. Wisdom is not wisdom when it is derived from books alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he talks in the paragraph about that, about you have to kind of experiment yourself, right?
Yeah.
Oh no.
And then
it's not going to make us wise. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's also to understanding our audience. Like when he says it requires wisdom to understand wisdom, if the audience is deaf, then it does nothing. It falls on deaf ears. So it's making it about other. Love is making it about other, right? So we really want to speak the language of the people that we're connecting with. Because if I'm just like spouting all this wisdom that I think is wisdom, but don't get it, then it means nothing. It's pointless. You know what I mean? Or if I'm if I'm sharing a story, and I think the reason I'm sharing it is because I think it's a good story and I want you guys to listen to me. That's not really love. That's me, myself, and my ego. If I'm sharing it because my intent is I want to share this because I think somebody might benefit from hearing this, and that's about others, right? So I think it really comes down to understanding and knowing your audience. But I mean, I shared something on Facebook today, and I was like, "Oh, nobody's gonna get this," but I don't care because it's so funny, and I put it up. Maybe Christine, I guess, but what it is it's a planet of what is it? Mars? It's a planet with, I think it's Mars.
Saturn.
Is it Saturn?
I saw that one. Yeah.
Oh, you saw it? Yeah, it's Saturn. Okay. Did you get it?
I got it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see it.
What's that?
I didn't get to see it.
Okay, so it's a picture of Saturn, and then it says God created the Earth, and then He created Saturn, and then underneath it goes, and He liked it so much He put a ring on it. It's a Destiny's Child song, right? But as I'm doing this, I'm like, nobody's totally gonna get this, but I don't care because I like it. So
it doesn't matter what other people like. Great.
I got it.
like that too, yeah.
Yeah. But you know, Vanessa, the point that you said, you know, that's really important because when you are sharing something, of course you want to kind of adjust to your audience. But the beautiful thing is that there could be two people and you are sharing the story and everybody will take away something from it depending on where they are on their path.
Yeah.
So that is really interesting. And so you think about it and you say, really the story is not the important point, is I mean, it's important. I mean, you've got to tell something that is relevant, I guess, to the people you are with. But it's basically the receiver that will kind of decide what's their take on it, because we all read the same book, but I'm sure we all have our, like, from Tom, but we are not all at the same stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting. And the same school, it's the same thing when you're taking any course, right, with a teacher or anything. Everybody gets what they can from it at that moment.
Yeah, and it's having that courage to share the story or to put yourself out there and
Yeah.
share your voice as well.
I
Right?
think that's the most difficult thing. It's that part, right?
Yeah, because
Having the courage to show up and be seen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, Nadine, it's that even one person might benefit from it, but that helps that one person. So
Yeah.
good sharing.
Yeah.
your sharing may help that person see realize a different perception of something that will increase their awareness of it, right? And who knows, they might take that and then go off on a tangent because of what you shared.
Exactly.
And like so I don't think we have to be too wrapped up in like what's my intention for behind everything I do. And I did though do that with this morning, my post. I was like, yeah, maybe it's selfish and I don't care. I like it. Somebody might laugh. And then I actually did have an old friend reach out to me and message me after. And she was like, hey, and telling me about what she's up to. Now we're connecting for lunch next week.
Mhm.
So
That's good.
yeah, so
That's cool.
it can resonate with just that one person.
Yeah. So when I was reading this chapter, any quote I liked, I put on Facebook as well, and so many people liked them.
Mm.
So
Is that
I
right?
don't care if people don't like it. I put out there because I liked it. Maybe it'll raise awareness for someone else. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
being vulnerable.
Being
Yeah.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Being vulnerable and putting yourself out there anyway.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
though it's scary sometimes.
Don't think, just do it.
Yeah, don't think, just do it.
And the critic doesn't matter. That's what I tell myself. The critic doesn't count.
Well, the strongest critic is yourself, right?
Mm.
Can be.
Yeah.
Can be.
Yeah.
But still, the critic doesn't matter. It's the
Yep.
man who's actually in the arena dealing with stuff. That's the one that matters.
Right.
Mhm. In the arena, that's right. Love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, who said that again? Who was it? The quote?
That was a quote that changed Brene
Brene
Brown's
Brown.
life, and it was from Roosevelt.
Yeah, Roosevelt, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. I love that quote. I put it up on my wall too. The critic
You
doesn't
guys
count.
know it? Are you guys familiar with it?
What?
In the arena quote. Do you have it on your wall? Do you want to read it out?
Oh gosh. Let's see.
It's a really good. Yeah.
Well, it's in the other room. I'd have to go dig it up.
Okay, well, Google it. Just put in the arena Roosevelt, and it'll come up. It's
Is it right? Yeah.
really moving. It's very powerful.
Yeah, everybody read The Critic. It's just
Yeah.
it'll twist your mind and put it where it's supposed to be.
It's basically like, I don't want to hear your opinion unless you're also in the arena with me getting your ass kicked. You know what I mean? There's so many people that are gonna like judge you and shit, but they don't know unless they're actually out there and doing it. So
Well,
Yeah.
if you're in the, what it really means to me is, you know, if you're criticizing other people, you're not actually in the arena. The people that are in the arena are the ones that are being vulnerable, even though it's scary, and they're face planting over and over and over again because of it. And that's why, you know, the one that's in the arena, that's the one that gets all the credit, because they're the one that's taking the blows and dealing with all the stuff. But they're the one that's growing the most too.
yeah. And it's so easy to just sit in the bleachers and in the stands and watch and criticize them, laugh at them, make fun of them. But why don't you try getting in the arena and doing it yourself? You know, like that's what and we all do it from time to time too. I do it myself too. Like,
oh, we all do. Well, the internet makes it easy. The internet makes it easy because you have so much anonymity, you know, so you can sit there behind the scenes and go, look at you, you know, and it just makes it easy. And so people don't realize that is hurtful stuff they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
If we really felt good about ourselves, we wouldn't have to put other people down, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do it because it makes us feel better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If we just stay in the arena, it would be all good.
So the next page, 808, I love, again, the Einstein quote where he says, to understand the world, one must not be worrying about oneself.
Mm-hmm.
That's That's really, really profound to me. Yeah, and I'm just noticing it too. Like every time I was driving the other day, and then your thoughts go on autopilot, and then I caught my thoughts, and it was basically they were just thinking about my life and like my past, and I'm like, oh, here you go, thinking about yourself again, and then I'm like, why don't you shift your thoughts and your attention and throw some love out to some people? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So then started sending love, but I think that's what it is that we start and we're really we talked about this last time, so we are a little bit self-indulgent. We do need to find our fears and work on them. But then as we start growing, then it starts becoming less about us and more about how can I serve others, right?
Yeah.
It's not on this page, but this topic that he's talking about here reminds me of a quote from Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote a book called The Four Agreements. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
You know him, but this is a
Great
different.
book.
It is a great book. This is a different book, and I don't remember the exact title, but it's something like Mastering Love or The Art of Love.
Oh yeah.
But have you read that?
A friend gave it to me. I didn't read it, but I like the Four Agreements.
Well, it's good, but he says something in there that's just kind of shocking. And I read that book before I found Tom Campbell, but he basically says that we don't get happiness by being loved. We only can be happy by loving. So people get it all mixed up and they spend all their energy trying to get love. And that doesn't help. It's just being loving.
Yeah.
Which is
That is so true.
kind of what he's saying here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cool.
Yeah, me too.
That is so true. And
Read
by
the book.
loving, you get loved.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although there's a video with Tom, I don't remember exactly which one out of the hundreds that he has, but he says there that love is really a one-way street. You can only give love. You cannot receive love. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Say
I
that
remember.
again, Mel. Sorry.
Yeah, the Tom says that really love is a one-way street, and so you can only give love. You cannot receive love. You only give it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, and he also says, for example, when we say, "Oh, we need to get to unconditional love," and Tom says, "No, if it isn't unconditional, it isn't love."
Not love, yeah.
Of course. And it is only one way. You can only give it.
Yeah.
Receive it is not. So I found that very interesting when I heard that. I said,
Yeah.
That's probably related with what Leo was saying.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also, in another video, that reminded me, Mal, he says, it's a terminology thing, but he says there's no such thing as self-love. Now, I use the term in my community, we use the term self-love to really mean taking care of yourself and making sure you're safe and being true to yourself and that kind of thing, kind of growing up. But he says it's really a wrong term. Tom Campbell says it's really bad terminology because you can't love. It's not love if you're loving yourself. That's actually a psychological problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I saw that one too, and yes, there's not such thing as self-love. Yeah, interesting too. Yeah.
He says you just have to like yourself. Like the depressive piece comes in when people don't like themselves very much. Then if you start talking about, oh, I need to love and that comes up a lot. I just need to love myself. I need to love myself. But that can be like narcissistic, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
So when I hear that, I in my mind, I just need to accept myself. Accept myself for who I am.
Right. I'm good enough. I'm worthy. All those things are what we need to know for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what most people mean when they say self-love. But
I
agree with Tom.
Yeah.
So love is a one-way street. I haven't heard him say that, but it does make sense. You can't receive love, and I guess you can't, because the whole purpose is for us to become love, right?
To
Me to
become love.
True.
Yeah, not to take love from others, but for me to become love myself. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's so true, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I've got the critic. Do y'all want to hear it?
Oh, you got it. Okay. There we went.
I got it. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat.
Amen.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But you know, the point that you brought before about love, it makes me wonder if you know, that's why sometimes there are a lot of difficulty for people in relationship, because that's basically the assumption that they want to receive love, right?
Right.
From their partner or whoever they are in relationship, their family. And I mean, this is the way we are all brought up, right? To want to be in surrounded by people who love us. And I think that's a dramatic shift. You know, when you realize that it's all about giving love. So no, it's true, but I think that has a direct impact on the way you move forward, or you see your relationship, or in your life, and you I mean, it changes things at that level. That's what I mean, because it's not about expecting all the time to be on the receiver end, but be the giver. Like, you know what I mean? So that changed the whole dynamic of. Anyways, that's so that's a huge shift, I think, and you know, that's not where I mean, most of us have kind of grown up with, and when you look around and you see how the interaction are between people, it's the understanding always that if they give love, they have to receive it back, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting. I hope it goes a little bit more mainstream type of thing, right?
I can't remember who said this, but he said that to make a relationship work, you have to put 100% effort in and expect nothing back.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
don't expect anything. Yeah. So I mean, can you imagine how it would change the focus?
I just want to, as a woman who has struggled in relationship, and maybe this will help others, I don't know, but I remember being basically really defeated in my last relationship, and crying to Tom and being like, I don't get it. I'm like, I'm making it all about him. I'm making it about other. And it's not working. And then he said to me, Vanessa, it only takes one person to love, but it takes two to make a relationship work. If you've chosen the wrong person to be in a relationship with, then you probably should get out of that relationship.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Which is true.
Right. It only takes one to love. It definitely only takes one to love. Yeah, and I've even used that now in like my business relationships. The last time somebody was upset with me in business, I said to her, I'm like, yeah, I take full responsibility for how I'm showing up. And I realize it takes two to tango. So I'll take 100% of what I've done, my responsibility, but then I also see you played a part as well, right? And then, but when you lead by example, and I think, and they see you taking ownership, then that puts them in the place of then want to take ownership for how they showed up as well.
Mhm.
You know, Vanessa, I love that because that's something that I don't understand or have struggled with sort of throughout this book, like understanding that it's about other and loving, right? And then it should all be about other. But what I didn't understand is if you choose to not be with somebody, aren't you sort of judging them, right? Like, aren't you saying, oh, this situation isn't good for me, so I'm not going to do this anymore, right? But what you just said makes a lot of sense, right? So it's like, okay, yes, you can be loving, but you have to have two people there's two people to make that relationship work. So if it's not working.
Yeah, you have to be compatible, right? You're compatible with different people. You know, we're all different personalities, and some mix well and some don't.
Exactly. Yeah, and probably another point is like saying if I am in a relationship, romantic relationship, and I take this for granted that love takes only one person, or love is a one-way street, so I'm giving love. And regarding the other person, it's like, it's not that I am expecting to receive love from her, is that she has the opportunity to learn to love by me being here. But if she, well, in my case, because I'm a male, so if she doesn't want to take that opportunity, that's fine. That's her. But it's not because I want to receive love. It's the opportunity for her to learn to love. As well as me. This is the opportunity for me to learn to love. Not because I want to give love specifically to her or something like that. That's a game changer, really. I think that's a game changer completely. At least compared to what we are used to in general. No?
Yeah.
Well, here in the West, we're used to falling in need, like Tom Campbell says. I mean, when he talked about it, I was like, oh, I know that one. we're okay, well, this is what I need, and then he's got what he needs, and, you know, it's like, okay, let's look at our notes and see if it'll match. You know, if it matches, we're good to go, and it doesn't work. And nobody gets what they need anyway, because it's not a loving relationship. Neither person is giving love. They're just got their hand out. What do I get?
Totally. And that's what Tom said to me too. He's like, if you keep seeing yourself in a relationship with the same type of person, what's your criteria? Is it is your criteria just needs based, or does it have anything to do with their capacity to love? And I'm like, well, no, I mean, and then if I think about it, when I attracted my last partner, my intention was I want to meet somebody who is, I did say capable of loving, but it was like, loves me and loves me so much, because I know that I'm good at loving, and I want somebody who loves me just as much. And then again, that's a need though, because I need to and meet my needs, you know? So,
we just want attention. Oh, you know, when we get attention, it feels good.
Yeah.
And that's why
it becomes dysfunctional and turns into now I own you, and you can't go and see other people, and then it's like, what did I ask for? Definitely coming.
Yeah. But you know what Maui was saying, you know, that is so true, because our personal relationship, it's the same, our social and professional interaction and relationship, it's we learn through that, right? So if we are in an intimate relationship, so for us it's an opportunity to learn to love, and at the same time, if the other receive that love and feel loved, it's an opportunity for her or for him to learn to love as well, right? So it's not a matter that I'm expecting to receive or she expecting to receive. It's a matter that you are in an interaction or relationship, you know, first of all, for you to kind of learn to love, and then we go from there. But what Vanessa, you were saying is that you were maybe with a person that was not ready or receptive to learning to love, right? So it probably didn't respond well to all the loving that you were giving, right? So then it doesn't work, right? But it's really, I think it's a really big change when you look at it as it's an opportunity for us to learn to love, right? And to be intimate with someone, and we, you know, it goes from there, because if the person feel love and wants to experience being loving in return, like, you know.
Yes, yes, because maybe what we've been doing, well, most of us have been doing all the time, is really a negotiation. It's
Yeah.
really a negotiation.
Yeah.
Meaning, I will love you if you love me.
Yeah.
I will take care of you if you take care of me.
Well done.
Yeah.
I will treat you as a lady if you treat me as a gentleman. I will.
He set conditions.
That's a negotiation,
Yeah.
a contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Terms and conditions.
Oh, you can't see that, can you? You can't see. It's called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, and this is exactly all what you guys are all saying is what he's talking about. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, now
The
that
Mastery of Love.
The Mastery of Love. Yeah.
That's funny that you mentioned that book, Leo, because I tried to read that book and I didn't understand it like at all. So I wonder.
Before you read
Yeah,
Time?
it was maybe 3 years ago, and I tried to read it, and then I tried to listen to the audiobook, and I just kind of didn't get it. So it would be interesting to see if I understood it more now.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your level of consciousness has increased, so you might get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see.
That is so interesting, Christine, because a lot of time we read a book and we think, you know, we don't get it, or it doesn't really mean anything. And then you go back to it and then you discover a whole new, you know, world. It's amazing. It's not the book, because it's the same book. It's us that we have changed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's really interesting.
Previously about like I've had this book for a long time, but always consistently was watching Tom's videos. But the one that I would like to try again is A Course in Miracles.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I've tried many times. maybe now, I don't know. Oh, I have it, and I have tried 2-3 times, and I just can't. I just leave it. Anyways, yeah, but yeah, that's a good point.
Interesting, because this is very hard too, Nadine, and we did it.
Yeah, this is hard, but it's the group. I guess if we had a book club with Course of Miracle, maybe.
Right.
But you know, Cheryl, what you were saying about the need, right? We want to be with someone that fill out like we want to have our need met, and actually, you know, when you discover that this is the road to not succeed, because nobody can ever respond to all your needs, right?
No.
And then you're not taking responsibility for whatever you need, and you're putting all the burden, or whatever you call it, on this other person, that she has to be, well, to fulfill your needs. Well, that doesn't make any sense. You know, when you think about it,
It does make
you know,
sense.
and then you are upset because you put all those expectations in whoever you and you take no responsibility for your action.
But it does make sense.
It
does make sense if you look at it this way. It's a parent-child relationship.
Yeah.
And as a child, they have all these needs, and they expect the parent to meet those needs. That's the way that works. The child has a need, the parent meets that need.
Yes.
Then, because the way our culture is set up, we're not growing and becoming adults before we get married and get into other relationships. We're really basically children still mentally. And so we've got our hand out going, you're supposed to meet my needs. And the other person is going, I'm not your parent. That's your job.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? You think you're an adult, but you're, you know.
Oh, sure.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting take on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the book on page 809. Do you guys have anything to say?
No, Not for me.
810, anything on there?
I do.
Yeah, I got quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Daniel, mine is the last paragraph. Are you before that?
Yeah, I have it in the first paragraph.
Okay, so you
Okay, I have before that.
Go ahead.
I have a quote by Charles Sanders Peirce,
Mm-hmm.
who I don't know who that is, but he said, "There is one thing even more vital to science than intelligent methods, and that is the sincere desire to find out the truth, whatever it may be."
Truth seekers.
Truth seekers, yeah. Okay, Daniel, what do you have?
Yeah, so it's the second sentence in the first paragraph. How do you go about growing up? We know that fear and ego block learning and personal growth. Certainly, everyone will agree that growing up is more a being process than an intellectual process.
Yeah.
I have that too, Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I had, yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Oh, the very next sentence. So either success is a matter, essentially, success is a matter of perspective, attitude, vision, perseverance, and the gumption to get out there and try, and then try again.
Yeah.
Mm.
And again.
Again and again.
Yeah.
Fall down again.
Yeah.
Nadine, what did you have?
Oh no, well I have just after that, but before I wanted to say that, you know, when you read the quote that you read about the truth, when I read it, I was thinking about you. I said, that's Vanessa, because it was so much about you, it was interesting. So, this is exactly, you know, truth seeker, this is Vanessa. Anyway, yeah, I had the next paragraph. Your intent reflects the quality of your being and drive your choices. It is learning and process growth that eventually enable you to make the right choices for the right reason, naturally and intuitively. We express, and then he goes down and said, we express ourselves with choice. And then my favorite part was after that, where he started, where we juggle 1,000 shades of competing needs: fear, ego, desire, understanding, compassion, humility, caring, and love in a swirling mix of contradiction until it all coalesces into a single result that is actualized into the present irreversible reality by the choice we make. We are the sum total of those choices made over a lifetime, and then he adds a series of lifetimes. I really like that, and I like the way he wrote about it, and it is so true, you know, it is so true, because it's all this together, right? And like you said, Vanessa, last time, is when he added, you make the right choices for the right reason, naturally and intuitively. It's not about thinking about it at one time, it just comes, right? And then you know that maybe you're in a good place, because it's not by telling yourself, I have to do this, or I have to be like that, or I have to be more loving. It's just, it you know, it has to be natural, right? Yeah. For me, so this paragraph was really, I mean, this whole page was really, for me, the best of the whole. Yeah.
I loved what you read. I also underlined the line, we paint ourselves onto the canvas of the actualized present with brushes of intent and pigments of choice. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Yeah. We paint, this is in between, yeah. Yeah, he had a style that I haven't seen before from Tom. His writing style, and I really like that. I wish we had more of that.
His inner poet came out.
Yeah.
Right.
He was happy. He knew he was near the end.
Yeah.
I'm finished here. Yeah.
I was like, he was getting out of his intellect into his being, and it was just coming out.
That's what I was about to say. He was speaking from the heart in this chapter versus from the, you know, the head.
From his head, yeah.
He was like, whew, glad that's over.
Yeah.
Took him, what, 35 years to get all that data together? Oh, Lord.
The next paragraph, or the next page over. So the very first, after the quote, that paragraph there, I just had, this is the third sentence. He says, our school systems have, during the last century, essentially abandoned education in favor of force-feeding factual information and developing the bare essentials of a functional literacy.
Mm-hmm.
Education should never be confused with training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And I like the quote that comes after that. Education is what remains after one has forgotten everything he learned in school.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that is so true. You don't go to school
Yeah.
to learn, you go to school to learn to learn. That's basically it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
To learn how to question, to learn how to analyze, criticize, I mean, whatever, how you call it, and to learn new things down the road, all for the rest of your life, you know.
Oh, you're not allowed to question things in school. You're
No,
just
no,
allowed to follow.
no, but I mean, this is what you learn at school. This is not what you come up with at the end. That's what I mean,
yeah.
like the material, right?
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
all the skills or
Next
I
page over.
think there needs to be a major paradigm shift with the educational system.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do again.
Exactly.
Tom said you can't change it until the quality of our consciousness improves. He said, because you can change it, but it'll go right back to the way it is now.
Mhm.
Because they're too comfortable with this process.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll naturally change as it starts to reflect
Right.
our consciousness.
That's what he
We
said.
can nudge it along. Naturally.
Yeah.
So the next page over. Do you guys have anything there?
The first quote, everybody wants to be somebody. Nobody wants to grow. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
Well, you have to face fear to grow. Well, who wants to do that? It's no fun. It's
Yep.
scary.
yeah,
Fear is scary.
yeah.
And when you even mention the word fear, I mean, as I've been doing my fear work, I would say something about fear, and I could just feel the shutdown in the room. Doom, doom, doom. It's like, oh no, she didn't just say that. So I quit saying it, So I was like, oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to scare you.
Yeah, and I guess it's also what room you're saying it in. Because
Right?
right? Like I just said my fears that are going on in this room, but and you guys were all so supportive and loving and like offering me, words of encouragement and trying to help me. And so yeah, it's to choose, I think, our surroundings wisely. But this quote I really like is with Richard Rohr, where he says, the journey to happiness involves finding the courage to go down into ourselves and take responsibility for what's there. All of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah.
That's great.
All of it, especially that part.
Yeah.
and
that's-
the dark uglies.
The dark ugly.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a way towards happiness at the time, but that's what he's saying. The journey to happiness requires that. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like kind of like that's what we did here. So like I'm having the dark uglies, as Cheryl called them. Like I have these feelings, and then just to go into it and explore it, experience, talk about it, express it, and then receive this loving support back. And now, like I feel really happy now. So it is. It's been a journey of happiness.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. Mm.
As part of my journey, I had a very difficult time accepting the dark uglies that I saw in my world growing up and all that stuff. I couldn't hardly accept those dark uglies. And so how in the world are you going to be able to accept the dark uglies within yourself if you can't even accept it in your history and all that kind of stuff? So what, this is what I was telling y'all about that I came to earlier today and yesterday was that, if you just, if you can look at it like, say for instance, dark uglies. I'm sorry. I try to make it funny, make it easier to deal with. Evil and good are just two ends of the same continuum, or two sides of the same coin that produces our evolution as such. And, you can accept the darkness, out in the world, to accept does not mean to like it. You don't have to like it, but the package has already been delivered. So you have to accept it,
Yeah.
And then what I realized, that accepting that dark side to this place, it made it easier to accept the dark places within myself, because in the end, good can come from evil, and it has many times. But I experienced it growing up, and I didn't like it, and I didn't want to accept it for a lot of years, and because it produced a ton of fear inside of me. Well, I guess that produced a situation to where I could lower my entropy, didn't it? So it's been hard accepting the dark side of this place for me personally, but I'm breaking it down, and I'm finally getting to a place where it's not that I like it, it just is, and just accepting it for what it is. It doesn't have to be an either or. Well, I'm not going to like the bad. I'm only going to like the good parts, of just accepting all of it, and then doing what I can with what I have, and not looking at it like a thing I'm trying to push away from. I don't want this. I can't deal with that. So it kind of shifted that a little bit in me, and I'm sure I still got a lot of work to do on it, but a little shift is better than none, I think.
Yeah, cool. Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you guys have anything else from this page? 812? I like all the quotes on there, so. How about 813?
I liked that first full paragraph.
Yeah.
Where it said time in PMR is an experience defined by the perception of change. Your deluded perception of a short, somewhat random existence on planet Earth does not limit your responsibility for growth. Every decision, intent, motivation, and action moves you along one way or another in the big picture, whether you're aware that you are participating in an iterative, repeated until you get it, consciousness quality learning lab or not. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even the next paragraph over where he says, fortunately, the majority of us are growing more or less in the positive direction. The major difference your effort is likely to make is to increase dramatically the rate of your progress and the quality of your existence. That's all. No big deal.
Simple, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, if you're putting a lot of effort into growing up, then you get to benefit from the result of that, which is a happy life, which is, good friends like we all have here, just joy and love and compassion. So that's worth it for me to go and face the dark uglies. I want to go and face them, because if this is the consequence, then hell yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's worth the price, right?
Yeah.
It's worth the price. Yeah.
I have a quote about the darkness from Brené Brown, and I love it because it just says what we are saying. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. And that's what we are talking. That's for you, Cheryl.
We got to look at the dark uglies.
Yeah, we've got to do, and it's just so true.
It is.
Yeah.
But you got to accept it first before you can deal with any of that. You have to be able to accept that that's part of life, and that's what we do here. And I didn't want to. I didn't like it. I don't have anything to do with it. Okay, I'm good, and that's just it. And and when I did start working on the dark uglies, it was really dark and it was really ugly. and it chased me out of that place many, many times. I had to go in there many times with a gas mask. Then I tried to pick. Then I tried to axe. It was just pretty brutal. But once you get in there and get to looking around, it's in there, but it gets less and less every time you go and deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I had to like mentally put a courage badge on. Okay, I've got a courage badge on, even if I don't have a lot of it myself. I've got a courage badge, and I'm the sheriff in town. Hey, Darkin, what's going on in here?
Wow.
I like everything he said down here when he was basically sharing what he had done. And I really like the third point because he says, as your tour guide, I've pointed out some of the more interesting sites, but you have to get off the intellectual tour bus.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like the last point too, where he says, I have provided a model of reality to help you interpret, structure, and add rational meaning to your personal experience. But you have to have the experience and then learn from it.
Yeah.
Next page, you guys have anything on 814?
Just the very, very last sentence. If you just go do it with a long-term view, seemingly impenetrable barriers will begin to dissolve before your steady, unconditional effort. If you never go do it or give up easily because those barriers seem to be hopelessly impenetrable, they will be.
I was thinking of his rap.
Yeah.
Do it. That's all there is to it.
Just go do it.
Yeah, and Leo, right before that, I had the line undergrad. He says, new paradigms always seem impossible before they become obvious and trivial. So yeah, it's like in the beginning it seems really difficult, but then before you know it, it just is what it is. Like Cheryl was saying, on a personal level, at first it's like really tough. It's like it's so much work, but then you do it and it just becomes like second nature. It's no big deal to overcome those fears.
Yeah.
Yes,
It gets easier. And it's true what he says about once you get that first one down, it gets easier after that. But boy, that first one, I tell you what, there was 2 or 3 times I was just in tears and I looked at my partner. I have worked on this fear and I've worked on it and it just keeps coming right back. But then, you know what I found? Even after you've worked through the fear and you've dissipated and you've lowered the entropy of it and you've dissipated the energy of it, what I found is that the system will bring that back to you again to see if you've really worked through it.
Yeah.
So you know that for yourself.
Yeah.
I said, what is going on here? Am I going to have to just do this one for the rest of my life? And that's all it was. Because then after that last incident, it just fell away. It was done.
Yeah.
So, even though you
came,
through it brings it back to you again. And like I said, everywhere I turned, I had a big dog coming at me, and it was scary and all that. And so finally, they were still coming at me, and I was just looking at it and telling myself, yep, there's a big dog. I'm not afraid anymore, though, because most big dogs don't bite. You know, I had things that I'd worked on. And finally, when I look at a big dog, I don't feel like I'm going to jump out of my skin anymore.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, when I was working on my fear of spiders, I remember I came home one day and there was 5 big spiders on my front door. But yeah, and I still haven't gotten over that one completely. And I know I'm going to test it more, but I'm like, no, I don't want any more tests.
Next, it'll put one in your hair or in your bed.
So, I've had one crawl across my face.
Wow.
that's scary.
Yeah, but it's really interesting how life will keep on presenting you the same thing, and just for you to give you more opportunities to learn, right? And they show up, right? They show up. Yeah.
It feels
but you know, sorry, Cheryl. Go ahead. Sorry.
You guys, we only have 20 minutes left, so I just want to be cognizant of the time because we have about 5 more pages.
Okay.
But on 8:15, do you guys have anything on that page?
I have one. The Western Puritan ethic and the Western work ethic may combine to produce successful model citizens and productive workers on the outside, but they invariably lead to poverty and frustration on the inside.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 So true.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
put those two together, you really have a mess inside. I know I did.
Yeah, just a few lines up from there. I had adventures of mind and spirit are best absorbed in alternating doses of work and play, an interweaving of light and heavy, learning and growing. Once past the boot camp phase, should be joyful and fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want out of boot camp.
Yeah. I think we are still we're still into the
We're in
boot camp
well, I
situation. But you know, the paradigm shift, when he talks about that, they seem impossible at the beginning.
Yeah.
But you know, when anyway, for myself, when I started reading Tom and we had the discussion about, oh, it's all about becoming love and all that, I think for me, it just made no sense whatsoever compared to what I got out of it now, just for, you know, of the discussion of just we had on love just before.
Mhm.
And for me, that's what he means by a paradigm shift. Was like impossible. What is he talking about? Is he crazy? You know, that's what for me was like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense. But I wanted to find out more about it because I was intrigued, right? And now it just make total sense.
Right.
So it's really interesting.
Yeah. You've got a bigger picture now, for sure.
Yeah, you've got a bigger picture by just, you know, like I said, the book club and the discussion every week, really, it's not just reading the book. I don't think it is, because reading the book is strictly like an intellectual process. And I don't think you do get that just by reading.
Talking about it, because we can feel what's going on, so we can kind of let it sink down deeper into the deeper levels of us.
And experimenting with it, you know, try it out and see, well, is this true, right? You know.
Yes.
And then you taste you taste the famous pudding and you say, oh, Tom is right. And then you want to taste it again and again, different flavors, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I like the next paragraph down where he says, I guess in the middle, he says, big truth is much more likely to yield loving, lighthearted play than to the stiff, ossified narrowness that often defines the mature and dignified Western approach. And then he says, when happy children laugh and play, they live closer to the core of existence. As they grow up and get appropriately serious, they lose their innocence and their intuitive harmony with the one. Able to freely and seamlessly mix and intermingle knowledge, wisdom, and play is one of the gifts of enlightenment.
I love that.
Yeah.
I had it, you know, I like that because I never really understood the enlightenment in the other sense. I don't know what the Eastern sense means. I never really understood it, but this I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
You can't be enlightened unless you are aware of the one and can feel it within, you know. And we all were there at one time, and then they trained us out of it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else on that page?
No.
I just have the very last sentence where he says, as a conscious being, imbued with the capacities and potential of your source, an ability to expand the light and grow the quality of your consciousness creates the challenge that your existence is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're here, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I missed that one.
Next page, anything there?
No.
This is the one page that has part of a sentence that really stood out for me, even though it wasn't particularly the point he was trying to make. It's the third paragraph. He says, recall that absolute truth or big truth is universal and never changes. Now that wasn't, the point of the paragraph, but the reason why that stood out for me is because I have noticed, I've mentioned, I think last time, that I was part of this spiritual community called Science of Mind, and which is really about setting your intention and your thoughts create reality and all that stuff. And it's so well aligned with pretty much everything Tom says that I find it really interesting. I just find it really interesting to compare them. But the one difference that I've sort of wondered about is that we have this idea when we want to set an intention, to affect probability. The way we do that is by sort of contemplating the highest ideal. And we call that God, but it's kind of like, if we want to picture love in someone's life or money in someone's life, we kind of contemplate the ideal of that quality. So it's like using our imagination to picture the perfection of the ideal, and then we apply it to the situation. And it makes it possible, it makes it easier to get into the feeling state or the being state of setting that intention. Now, we use the word God, but he uses the word AUO or AUM and that kind of thing. But the big difference that I've found really intriguing is that when he talks about consciousness, he talks about it as evolving. Like it started out as dim awareness. And I really like that because it means that we're all part of evolving it together.
Yes.
We're evolving the whole. So that's the difference. But I really like what he's saying. But I also like this idea of being able to contemplate a perfection. So this really stood out to me because I've been kind of curious about that, because he's saying absolute truth never changes. So if consciousness, it's a really great question. I would love to ask him if consciousness is evolving, then where is this big truth coming from? It's like he's, and it feels right, doesn't it? It feels like there is a big truth that is sort of the idealistic, what we could aspire to. That seems like what he's saying.
What if the big truth is like part of the rule set? Right?
I feel
the big truth is the assumption, the existence of consciousness, I think.
Yeah, like what is.
It's two assumption, what is, yeah. And the evolution is just the way that this consciousness kind of evolved. I think that's what he means by big truth, that there is a consciousness. That all is consciousness.
Yeah, right before that, Leo, this is one of my favorite too, where he says, the passageway to an improved quality of being lies along the path where personal truth and absolute truth eventually become one.
Yeah.
So I asked Tom actually on our last fireside chat about this, about personal truth and absolute truth becoming one, because I feel like we glimpse it at times. We glimpse absolute truth. We glimpse becoming one with everything, like in meditation or whatever it may be. So my question was, but how do you sustain that? Because it feels so like blissed out and just beautiful. How do you operate in this world from that level of awareness or consciousness? And he said, and is it even possible, I asked. And he said, it is possible. And I think he's kind of the living embodiment of that. But it is possible in that he's like, it's basically, you're operating from this level, but not all your awareness is there. You are that, but your awareness is here in this reality, helping other people, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we experience it in meditation or whatever, it's like all our awareness is there, so we're just like overcome by how beautiful it feels. But
and our job is kind of to remember that state as much as we can all the time, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good answer.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful.
Yeah.
It does seem like he's saying though that even in that previous sentence, that there is, that absolute truth would be like something that consciousness is. If you go back to the idea that consciousness started as dim awareness, wouldn't absolute truth be sort of what it's trying to aspire to?
I feel like absolute truth is the understanding of what it is. The absolute truth is more of like an understanding. It's like a perspective. It's like my view, right? So then I have my personal view, which is very limited, my little perspective. But then I have this big understanding. That's the absolute truth of all that is. Does that make sense, kind of?
All that could be, or all that's been so far?
All of, like an understanding of like the nature of reality.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Vanessa, when you ask him about the question how they become one, the personal and the absolute truth, and he talked about that, about the everyday and the meditation state. So I don't know, but my understanding was he trying to say that okay, when you meditate, all your awareness is there, but when you are in everyday life. So was he trying to say that eventually, we will evolve if we continue our growth, and then every moment would be like we don't have to actually focus our awareness in meditation, but our every moment of our life will be a meditation. Like, was he is that what he means, or no?
Yeah, that's another way of saying it. Absolutely, yeah.
That we don't have to think about it. We will be like, it would be like
our natural state. That's our natural state, is we are just always present. We are always very aware and conscious. We don't have monkey mind going on. We have a very focused.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I think it's our brain. I think it's our brain in theta state all the time.
Yeah.
And not just when we're in meditation. To where your brain becomes to where that's its natural state is in theta while it processes this PMR. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's like always seeing a bigger picture, because oftentimes like we can get stuck in our little very tunnel vision way of seeing reality, like, oh, why? Yeah, but we don't go there anymore if we're aligned with absolute truth, because when our personal truth becomes one with absolute truth, it's not about me at all. It's about having this bigger understanding of how the interconnectedness and how we're all connected and we're all part of the same thing. We all have a mission here to grow up and evolve. It's always coming from that big understanding.
But we can't do that. We can't stay in theta all the time if we're still dealing with fears on a deep level. Because what happens is I can stay in theta for quite a big part of the morning. Then as I move into like maybe 2, 3 o'clock, as I'm starting to do my day, then my experience will pull up a fear, and there it is. And then I call it face plant. You do the fear face plant, splat, you're out of theta. And then you're out of theta from that point until I meditate again.
Yeah, and it goes back to a few pages ago where we were talking about that Einstein quote where he says, to understand the world, one must not be worrying about oneself, right?
Right.
Our ego is not there anymore. It's just we're always about the big picture.
So we got to get rid of all that fear and ego, and then we too get to be in theta. I'm ready.
I am too. Okay. Anything else? We have like 5 minutes. So did anything else stand out from the rest of the book that you really want to share?
Last page.
Let's do the last page. The end.
Did you have anything else before the last page?
I did. Anybody else?
The aside is really nice. Well, I found it very nice. That says, where one journey ends, another must begin. I won't be traveling with you on your next journey. I have no idea where you are headed or where you will end up. But I do have one little question about how you are going to make the trip. Will you be in charge and driving? along for the ride in the passenger seat, locked in the trunk, or dragged to kicking and screaming. Bon voyage, amigo. I love that.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, I like that part
yeah. I like that. Yeah.
I think we've all
yeah.
been locked in the trunk from time to time.
Right. Bon voyage, amigo addresses both Nadine and Mao.
Yeah.
Yeah. And may you graduate from boot camp before the rope breaks. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, we can hope.
Well, I just want to take the last 4 minutes to go around and do a quick closing circle. It doesn't have to be quick, just take your time. So yeah, any final thoughts? Our last closing circle of the book club. So
Yeah.
maybe Christine, if you want to start, we'll go around.
Sure. Thank you. I don't want to get emotional. I feel like I probably will be a little bit emotional, but thank you. I think it's been a good experience for me.
Aw.
No.
Sorry.
Thank you, Christine.
Oh, don't be sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's the feeling.
Christine, now it's time to watch
level that we
Westworld.
worked so hard to
That's
get
right. Now we got to watch Westworld. But it's been a good learning experience for me. It was like I think I've said before, I just feel like I got a lot of wisdom from it. I think it answered some questions that I didn't really know I was even having in my life. So thank you, all of you. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Christine.
Thanks,
Thank you,
You're
Christine.
lovely. You're lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all
Wow.
help each other grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me, I think it was great just being part of this whole circle and just learning and growing with you. I'm curious as to when we do this again, what new awareness and how much more level or how much increase of consciousness am I going to get by rereading it again?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that'll be cool. That'll be a new sort of another discovery for myself when I read this again.
Mhm.
So, but no, it's been great. I don't like we said before. I don't think I would have been able to read this without the support of all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, too. Yeah. I get a question. Are we going to meet again? I mean, when are we getting together again?
Yeah, we're gonna start up another book club. We'll after this we'll go on the WhatsApp and I'll send out a doodle poll so we can all agree on when to start it.
Great.
Okay. That's
Do we know what
good
book it's going to be yet?
Same one. Round 2.
Oh, we're going to read it again?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good, isn't it, Christine?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, for me too, it has been like one of the most beautiful experiences I have had lately, and I feel that I have grown a lot with you guys, and the sharing and just to share, you know, a little bit like Christine have helped me a lot on my own journey, and I'm so grateful. And this last one was like a fantastic one, you know, for me, and it was so nice to be with everyone and to welcome you guys, the newbies to our group. It was great. You brought so much, and I'm just like Daniel said. You know, I don't know the next time around. I mean, this has been great already. So I'm really curious and excited to see the next time we read it and we share together. Where will that take us? So it's so thank you. I'm really grateful, and thank you, Vanessa, for allowing to have this book club and to be where we are today. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah,
great.
and thank you, Daniel, for hosting us with Zoom. Daniel's been on every single call, so we couldn't have done it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful just recording and posting it out there. So
Yeah. we forgot that without those technical things, we wouldn't be able to share those beautiful things. Thank you, Daniel.
We wouldn't have
It's
met
true.
Leo or Mao because you guys saw
Yeah.
this, right?
And I do love the fact that we are all coming from different area of this planet, and that's my dream, just to be one planet without any borders.
Yeah.
And that allows it, and it's so enriching, right? Because we bring different things to the table.
Yeah. In my case, even though I joined at the probably last 4 sessions or so, it was a completely different experience for me from reading the book alone compared to being with you guys. It's another completely different experience, much higher experience, and I love you guys.
Yeah.
We love you too.
Yes.
Okay, Cheryl, you.
Well, I had such a wonderful time meeting others who are interested in some of the same things I am. I've been on this journey by myself for quite some time, and it's not like you can just go talk to somebody about this. I mean, it's just you can't. And all you can really say, well, I'm just working on some projects. I really enjoyed meeting all you guys, and I think you're all so intelligent and just very intuitive and understanding of what's really kind of going on with this place. And I'm looking forward to coming back and doing some more. I wished it wasn't the end.
Yeah.
Great.
It's not the end, it's a new beginning.
That's
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's super fun. It's super fun to be actually with you guys, because I was reading this book on my own since I think December, with really nobody to talk to about it, because it's so complicated. You can't just share it with somebody,
Yeah.
Right.
and even my wife, she's like, yeah, that sounds cool. I found you guys, and I started watching the recordings of the chapters I just had read, and that was so fun. I got to know 3 of you anyway, because at first it was just Daniel, Christine, and Vanessa, and Nadine wasn't on the ones that I was watching for a few weeks. So that was really fun, and now we were all kind of all together, and that's awesome. I feel like there's so many unanswered questions, even with the book. I'm a little concerned that if we just read it again, we won't get to those other things. I just watched an interview with Tom and someone else where he described that after he'd written the book in 2003 was when he realized that it was an information system. And, his analogy of the simulation, that wasn't actually in the book, right? I mean, he thought about a lot of this stuff. I think he's talking about these things even at a deeper level now than he was when he wrote the book. So I'm very glad I'm coming to Vancouver in July for his one-day course. Yeah.
Wow.
So see some of you in person.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
but I just
good
have so many
news.
questions about integrating these practices, and I'm, and how, like, want to talk with you guys about how you do meditation and those kinds of questions. So
why can't we have just like one more of these for like post questions?
I would love that.
Yeah, well, I asked Tommy if we could do one with him so that he could answer our questions, and he is booked until June. So we're launching a Kickstarter campaign in a couple weeks, and so he's like gone so much work to do to get that ready. And then
the experiments
Kickstarter campaign, which is a full month, he'll be interviewing. Well, he'll be on live feeds, so we'll have it in his Facebook. We're gonna make a Facebook group for it. And once a week he'll go on live and he'll take questions from people. So we'll
Why
have
don't
that.
we come back and talk about how we can get on there and do all that?
Yeah, we can definitely do that for sure. Yeah, so so I mean, I can still, I don't know, then I kind of feel like, oh, if we wait till June, then it's kind of like, well, it's kind of over, Tom. Like, but we can do the fireside chat, because there's another one coming up in like a week, and I think it's next Sunday actually, or maybe the Sunday after. So if anybody's interested, I can send you the info. I'll send the info in our WhatsApp group, and then you can.
Yes.
We can get on there too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I can get on the fireside chat? Oh,
Yeah. If they're 3 hours, so make sure you
I
get.
don't care. I don't care. I'll drag myself in here. Oh, just to be able to say something. Well, I get to meet him in 3 weeks. I'm sorry, I'm gushing, but I'm so excited.
Where are you meeting him?
Beside myself.
Tennessee. We're both going to be in Tennessee in 3 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Is that the same
Wow.
place as next year, Vanessa?
Next
Yes.
year, he'll be in. Well, he is going to be back in Tennessee, but he's also going to be in the UK. You're going to the UK one, right? Are you?
Me? No, I'm going to Tennessee.
Oh yeah. We're going to be in the same one, aren't we?
Yes.
This is
Are
the
you going
experiential.
3 weeks?
Hmm?
The
Christine?
experiential, right?
Yeah, the immersive.
So, Leo, I don't know what you were kind of referring to. Like, are you suggesting that instead of rereading the book, we kind of watch more recent video and discuss them? Or that was not your
No, I'm not saying
okay.
instead of.
Okay, all right.
But personally, I would love to meet at least one more time just with you all, like Cheryl suggested, because I really do have a lot of questions. You know, like
Right.
how do we make this? How do we put this into practice?
Right.
And
Okay, let's do that then. Let's do one final one without the book, and we'll just kind of whatever comes up for us. We'll do like a sharing circle. Yeah.
Like
Call
an
it the
impromptu,
conclusion.
like an
The
impromptu
conclusion.
type of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great idea.
Okay, cool. So we'll send it out on the WhatsApp. I gotta run, but
Okay.
so this isn't goodbye then.
No.
Yay. We got one more.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay. See you next week.
Thank
See you
you.
next week,
Bye.
guys.
See you later,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.